Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and in this video I'm going to be reviewing American Horror Story Coven, episode 2 called Boy Parts. I love this episode, guys. I thought it was really great. Also, you're going to notice I'm recording off of my iPad because my computer needs to get taken in. It's about to fall apart. The screen's about to come off. There was like a little crack there, and I ignored it basically. And now it's probably going to fall apart, and I don't know if I'm going to have to get a new computer or whatever, but probably I am, so we'll have to see what happens there, but, this is definitely, you really can't notice a difference, and I'm really happy with that, because this is actually very good quality, and I'm very happy with that with this iPad. So, this is not about the iPad, though. This is about my review of the episode. I love the episode. I love what they're doing with these characters, and I'm just really, really loving this show. So, basically, this episode starts off, we see these two trappers, Lee and Roy, and they're collecting alligators that they caught, and then we see a blonde woman, and that's Mitzi. She tells them they shouldn't kill things, and they basically pull a gun on her because they're like, whatever, bitch, and they pull a gun on her. But then she brings the alligators back to life, and the two trappers end up being eaten. The important thing here is that we hear Stevie Nicks music, which I'll talk about later in the episode. Then we see that at school, Zoe is still upset over the death of Kyle, and Madison thinks he would have raped her when given the chance. She kind of feels that Kyle shouldn't have died, but Madison's like, oh, no, he probably would have raped you. You know, I know this from my experience in Hollywood and all this stuff, and I think it's great. I mean, she is a bitch sometimes, but it does show that she actually really does care about people, and she is a nice person, and that she actually, she has very good intentions, and we saw that in this episode. So yeah. So then after this, the detectives come in, and, they interrupt to talk to Madison and Zoe, and at first they say to Madison, why were you hanging out with the frat boys? And she basically just said she wanted to get high. Then the detective surprised Zoe by asking her about her visit to the hospital, because as soon as she saw Archie, he died immediately after that. Then they say that her boyfriend died the exact same way. So she doesn't know what to do. She just Zoe doesn't know what to do here. She just completely cracks, and she reveals to them that they're witches. And, the cops think they're crazy or whatever. Cordelia basically tries to cover it up by saying Zoe is having a mental breakdown. And Fiona then enters and spits in 2 glasses of water and orders the detectives to drink. And, yeah, she basically makes them leave. And I think with Zoe, the thing is that we basically saw that, and, Fiona told her this, that she goes up to them, she basically tries to give them a pep talk. She's not a very strong witch. And she tells Zoe she's too soft and worries too much about what other people think of her. And witches are supposed to be stronger than regular people. And that's true. Witches should not be like Zoe. I think Zoe is a good character, because the thing is, most times we expect witches to not give a shit about anything. And Zoe is not really one of those people. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. So then Zoe and Madison go into the county morgue, because Madison says it's the least she can do for Zoe after killing the frat boys. It's the least she can do. She opens up this body bag, and she finds that Kyle's in pieces, and basically decided to take all the boy parts of all the frat boys, the best ones, and attach them to Kyle's head to make the perfect boyfriend. As soon as this happens, though, things aren't going right for some reason. The spell doesn't go right, so she ends up kissing Kyle, and then a coroner comes into the morgue and finds Zoe, and then out of nowhere, Kyle just wakes up and he starts to beat the man until Zoe shouts at him to stop. So then we see that she drives Kyle home. She doesn't really know what's going on. He obviously does not look right to her. He's basically just, I think, going crazy, and she doesn't really understand what's going on, and she can't speak really. Then suddenly Mitzi pops up from the back seat. Zoe drew her out with her spell. She directs them to her house on the swamp. There she spackles Kyle together with swamp mud and alligator dung. She explains how Zoe's magic called to her as she listens to a song by Stevie Nicks. Now, this was a really cool part of the episode. Basically, Mitzi believes that Stevie Nicks is a white witch, and Mitzi offers to heal Kyle and says he'll be right with Zoe when Zoe comes back. So yeah, Mitzi's going to look after Kyle. And something very interesting with Stevie Nicks, I think they're probably going to have Stevie Nicks come on the show. After something like that, I would not be surprised if she comes on the show. I do think that could happen. And I'm sure you guys agree with me. That's probably what's going to happen here. They're probably going to have Stevie Nicks on the show. I mean, I'm just, like, spitballing things here, but I think that could probably happen. So then let's get to the other plot, which I really, really enjoyed. It had to do with Delphine, Delroy, and this actually goes into another plot. The first thing we need to see is that in Detroit, we see that Queenie actually worked at a fried chicken restaurant, and a customer argued with her over the number of pieces of chicken in her basket and then called her fat bitch. And because of this, she dives her hand. You know, she uses her powers, and she looks on the skin as his hand bubbles and falls off. And that's basically how, you know, he basically said, I want to speak to the manager, and she says, I am the manager. She sticks her hand in the boiling water, and his hand falls off. And then the morning gathering, she explains that Cordelia read about it in the news, and that's how she found her. So that's kind of important for the rest of the plot, because we basically see that Fiona's holding Delphine LaLaurie, or as she's going to be called, Madame LaLaurie, hostage, basically. She's bound to a chair, she's gagged, and Fiona leaves her there for a moment, but promises to come back to get the answer to how she's still alive after more than 180 years. She can't really figure that out. So yeah, she doesn't really know what's going on, and so we basically find out, though, that this Cordelia goes to a gynecologist appointment, and she basically has bad news that her fertility drugs aren't working after a year of taking them, and Dr. Morrison suggests in vitro Hank, her husband, ask if she wants to keep trying and asks her to use magic, but she doesn't want to become her mother, basically. She doesn't really want a child. And at the house, we see that Nan is trying to read a book, but a loud voice won't leave her alone. She goes up to Fiona's room and unties Madame LaLaurie, telling her she thinks too loud, Queenie comes to investigate, and LaLaurie knocks her out with a candlestick. I thought that scene was hilarious. The scene where she's like, slave, she's like, who you calling slave, bitch? And then little Madame LaLaurie knocks her over the head. That scene was hilarious. That's like one of my favorite scenes of the episode by far. Was hilarious to watch that, because it's like badass takes out badass. They're like, I love both these characters. Then Fiona goes to a black hair parlor, basically, where she's there for a reason. She finds Marie, and Marie recognizes Fiona as a witch, and she's not a fan of witches. She claims the witches of Salem, from which Fiona's descended, got their magic from her ancestor, and Marie is supposedly buried in a tomb in St. Louis Cemetery. But Fiona found her in the 9th Ward, and Fiona confides that she wants to know her secret to immortality. Marie calls her muscle to toss Fiona out, so Fiona lights her Raxov wigs on fire, promising she'll be back. Later that night at the salon, Marie speaks with a shadowy figure and tells him that someone has returned. It's Bastin, still with the bull's head on. And, so yeah, as far as this storyline goes, I do like this character, Marie. I think it's cool how we see that Queenie is actually a different type of witch from the rest of them. This is not a witch. This is more of like a voodoo thing going on. And I think that's pretty cool, because it's something I think I've seen before in these witches stories, and I think that's really cool. So then back in her greenhouse, Cordelia works on her spell, later with 2 giant eggs and a circle of black salt. She and Hank begin her spell, stabbing each other's fingers to draw blood as they smear it over their lips. Then they have sex, surrounded by a ring of fire. The eggs break and snakes sliver all over them as they flesh. Yeah, that was kind of a weird scene in the episode. Then we get to the meat and potatoes of this episode, as I like to call it, because the last scene in this episode is very, very crucial, because you know how they made Madame LaLaurie kind of look like a bitch last season? Not last season, but the last episode? Well, it turns out that she actually is a very caring person, and we need to see why. And Fiona talks to Madame LaLaurie, who basically is shocked to learn she's been in the ground 180 years. That's where she's been all this time. And Fiona wants to know who did it to her, and Fiona doesn't really feel much sympathy for her either, but LaLaurie grieves for her dead children, but not her husband, as she was planning on killing her husband. But she says hell was seeing her daughter's faces endlessly in the box. And she asks Fiona if she's a witch and begs her to kill her. Fiona says she's not sure if she will, and then they both head back to the school. But we also found out that basically she took this love potion from Marie, and this is how Marie comes into her life, because she took this love potion from Marie. She goes outside to face Marie, with a lynch mob of dozens of the black people she's been abusing for years. Her own husband and 3 daughters are strung up dead. She explains it wasn't a love potion or a mortality potion she gave LaLaurie. Marie condemns her to a fate worse than death as the crowd puts her in a wooden box and buries her. So we basically found out that they killed her family and everything, and I really felt bad for her because, I mean, I thought she was just a badass before. Now it seems they want us to feel bad for her, and I think that's cool. Because, like, most people, when they think of her, they don't really think of Delphine LaLaurie as a good person. I don't think she was a good person in real life. I don't think this actually happened to her. I think they're just trying to give us character development, and they're trying to get us to care for the character, which is cool, because I never thought I could care for Delphine LaLaurie. But overall, guys, I love this episode. I thought it was so good. Let me know what you guys saw the episode. What do you think of the whole Stevie Nicks thing with the White Witch? What about Kyle? I do think that, let me just say one thing with Kyle here. It is eventually going to backstab them in the back, because there's going to be a lot of questions coming eventually with Kyle, like, oh, how'd you kill him? How did this all work? You know, they're not going to realize he's dead. There's going to be, like, all these things about backfire and things like that. They stole body parts, things like that. It's definitely going to backfire on them, so it's going to be cool to see that. But also, it kind of looks like he's going to be Zoe's love interest. What do you think of Madame LaLaurie's storyline? Do you like the new character Marie as well? And did you feel bad for Queenie? I felt so bad for Queenie in this episode. I really felt bad for her. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, so first review off my iPad. Hope you enjoy my reviews off the iPad. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye.